Shalom, family. Brother Dawa here. We doing the behind the scenes here with Mr. Withers, Mr. Andrew Jerome Withers again. Glad to have
Yes,
you
sir, bro.
on the set. Behind the scenes, we got a chance to talk a little bit about some of what's going on with the legacy of the family, but we didn't get a chance to really tap into some of the way the family is handling the legacy of the family. So why don't we do a little bit of that right now?
Well, let's see. I guess I want to kind of start about that I'm here now to carry on the legacy of Ernest Withers, and sons. I have 6 other brothers, and there's only one that's still living, including myself, makes 2. So, all of us were involved. Ernest Withers Jr. was a student at Manassas as well. Left there, went to Howard, Lamorne College, and went to Howard University. And then another brother, father, went to Howard University, and they graduated out of Howard University. Of course, they went there because my dad had 3 other brothers who had moved to Washington, D.C. One to be a pharmacist, one was a taxi cab driver, and the other one died at an early age, Uncle Earl. But anyway, then of course they got educated in Howard. They were photographers, became photojournalists in Howard University. Got involved in politics. It was just a profound thing. So my brother Ernest and Perry went to Washington D.C. And of course as they stayed in Washington D.C., of course Perry came back to live in Memphis later, but Ernest Jr. stayed there, and of course did photography. He got involved, with different movements there. He worked with city council people, and he was very involved in the Afrocentric culture in Washington D.C. That's how I kind of got learning, because he began to send us books of Chancellor Williams, and he sent us these books when he was up in Washington D.C. And so we began to get these books and these tapes that was done by a brother. I can't remember the brother's name, out of North Carolina. He's passed on, but he used to send those tapes of Ben Jehonkin and others who were talking, what all of our people need to hear about, how to raise the consciousness. So, in his end days, he ended up taking care of Chancellor Williams, and he also ended up getting involved in, Jimmy Carter campaign. Like I mentioned, he helped organize, and so it was just an involvement, as the oldest brother. And Perry became a writer and a teacher and a photographer. Some of these pictures I can show you he took. Some of these pictures I can show you Ernest Jr. took. Then, of course, my brother Joshua moved to California, went to Tennessee State, went to California, was a photographer, moved to California, did video work, and did had a T-shirt business, got married, and moved to California, but he's back in Memphis now. Did photography at Tennessee State. Sam Cooke, he used to work with Sam, be one of Sam Cooke runners, so there's a lot of involvement. Sam Cooke was a friend of Daddy. Then we got my brother Teddy, who was the youngest elected official, probably became the most famous one of the sons because he was elected at age 22, which we mentioned earlier. That Teddy, was one of the youngest legislators at age 22 who got involved in helping to establish a pyramid, which is built in Memphis now. They're making a sports complex out of it, or Bass Pro. But his involvement, and Teddy, as a legislator, also he brought in Alex Haley. He did a tribute to Alex Haley in Memphis, and so we honored Alex Haley because he was out of Tennessee and here in Tennessee. So he put together a tribute of Alex Haley, and we had a big dinner at our house where we had a tribute to Alex Haley. And Alex Haley, and through that tribute, we brought in Robert Hooks, we brought in Brock Peters, we brought in Jim Kelly, brought in Eartha Kitt, we brought in Florence, and we brought in Wheezy, and we brought in Grady. A lot of the stars came in as part of the celebration of Alex Haley. So and then there was a lot of pictures taken that haven't. This story had not even been told. Of some of the things that the family did in the community. Of course, I mentioned Eric Ted established the African Institute up in Nashville, Tennessee, at Tennessee State University. So he was a photographer. He was a photographer like all of us. Picked up cameras at one point in time. So you have my brother Darrell, who was really prolific photographer. He learned and did well, which I thought Darrell would probably be the one that's doing what I'm doing but of course he finally passed on. Of course my brother died. All of them died in some form of way. Some of them, we kind of suspicious way. Matter of fact, Teddy died. Came here to Chicago one time and had a blood transfusion. This was during the time that all of this African trade was going on. He got a blood transfusion. They say he contracted AIDS and then died maybe 5-6 years later. So it kind of left a lot of things unresolved in the trade center. But anyway, these are some of my brothers, and of course I'm still doing photography now. And all of us have been in either some way of politics, registering people to vote, just getting people involved and just trying to raise consciousness to the community. They always looked at us as a family, during the 60s, we always wore our black tikas, so, they said, here come them with us with that black stuff,
With that black stuff, huh?
Yeah, that black stuff. But anyway, but we were able to endure because of a lot of us, and so we were able to kind of continue on in our own way. And then Wendell was involved in the movement. My brother Wendell left, and he left with Jim Bevel and Ezekiel Bell, and he left at an early age and went up to Baltimore and started an organization called Making a Nation. Of course, Wendell left there and went to California, and had an accident in California and died in a car accident. Of course, doing that, he died in a car accident, but Wendell was, if people remember Jim Bevel was the person who put together the Children's March, and also in Alabama, they organized the children. He was also in the Selma movie, so I had the opportunity to take a picture of his funeral. So, the pictures that we have are continuing to go on. That's a picture of Memphis, Tennessee at the Club Paradise. Ray Charles on the left coming out the concert, and the Raylettes on the right there in Memphis, Tennessee. So these are part of the family. We are here to try to save a legacy, a family legacy. So the family, my father put together before he passed a trust. And before I sat there when the trust was signed, and when the trust was being signed, the guy, the European guy, John Elkington, had put his name down there as a trustee. And so my mama sat there and said, "Your name is not supposed to be there on the trustee. My children are the trustees to this document."
Right.
So we struck the name out right then. And so it wasn't but 4 children living at the time. Our name was already on the document. But the next time we saw the document again, it had put in there, they had wrote my sister's name as the trustee. So as my mama died, and she died in some very mysterious circumstances. And so that left since her name was there, which we took to court, but the judge never heard it in 3 years after going to court. So they ran us through a court system, wrong jurisdiction of court, where our case was never deliberated. And so we three brothers, and since that time one has died, so it's 2 of us now that's trying to get everything in order so that the family can receive equal distribution. At this time, at this moment, nobody has received any distribution of the monies through the trust, but one party. And that's one of the situations that we're dealing with.
So that would be your sister.
That would be my sister.
So your sister is working with the other side.
But basically, because she has not accounted for a dollar of the money that has been collected from the trust. And so now they come to her to do into the business instead of coming to the sons. They come to her, and she makes the decisions and not and without our consent. And this is what my mother would not approve of. This is what my father would not approve of. So this is one of the reasons why we're in disarray.
See, that makes me think of the Willie Lynch situation, where in the Willie Lynch letter it says that when the European man came to the house, he would always deal with the woman. He would negotiate through her, and he would negotiate her, period, when it came down to handling his business.
Right.
So that's what that sounded like to me, made me think about that. So same thing, huh?
Well, there's so many things that have happened, you know. Let's say if you can imagine between 2008, my mama died August 28, 2008, and we are in 2015. And I have a picture here, you know, of when, you know, I have all this in recording. You'll see my mother laying in the bed there. And we had a discussion. That whole conversation is recorded, where we all agreed to record the conversation. So at this time, my mom was telling my sister that, you know, how can you listen to people out there in the community and not sit down and talk to your family? So we didn't really understand at that time, but we come to find out later that my sister had really had taken some money from the agent before my dad had died, and even before my mother died. So they realized that before they died that there was some crookedness going on, and that she basically was not working. And so that conversation, you got two lawyers. So those two lawyers, you see the European guy in the blue shirt, and there was another young lady who was a lawyer, Monique Hagler. They had brought these two people to my mama's house to try to get her to sign some papers, and nobody was there but the two lawyers and my sister to try to get her to sign some paper, but she didn't never sign it. The only agreement that she signed was this agreement here, was to authorize Gregory Reed, who was an intellectual attorney out of Detroit. She signed this agreement that basically says that, you know, if something happens to her, that to put it into a corporation and all y'all be equal shares. But when that happened, she found out the lawyer was going to do what my mama said, she decided to rebel against what the lawyer that my mama said. And so, you know, she has not come clean, and it's really kind of, we can kind of hold off from getting put into a situation where we prove that she has basically been taking money and not sharing it with the family. And we've just been waiting and hoping that she would come around, and the arms are still open for her to come around to do the right thing for her family. Of course, but it doesn't stop the truth. That's the truth comes, lie runs away. So ain't nothing that can so there's so many documents. My mother even signed a document that says, hey, told the guy up in Boston to send these pictures on back to Memphis, Tennessee. And every picture that's in this book that you see, the guy up in Boston got the negative to him still. Mm-hmm. You see, and so when we asked for the negative, or even my mama asked for the negative before she died, so the guy never sent it. So this is the letter here signed by my mama and said, well, okay, to Tony Deaconess, Panopticon, Boston, Massachusetts. This letter is request the following negatives, copyrighted by Ernest Withers, and in the following publication. Pictures tell the story, this book, Negro Baseball, this book, Memphis Blues Again, that book, and the Immaterial. Please forward as soon as possible, signed by Mama, August 28, 2008. So he never honored my mama's wishes. So he not only asked him to send her all the negatives, so he hadn't sent them. And so he's sitting there and still got our negatives up there in Boston. So when we tried to bring it to court, The court didn't even want to hear it. We had it wrote down that this is what's supposed to be done.
What court?
Chancery Court in Memphis, Tennessee.
In Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, Chancery Court. And we done been to 2 or 3 different lawyers. And first lawyer, he crossed us. The second lawyer crossed us, and the third lawyer crossed us. So we didn't spend out of money trying to fight. These lawyers who were basically taking advantage of the Withers legacy. And so in all of this time, it's put us into a situation where they're exploiting the legacy, while we have somebody who's not supporting what my mother has said to be done. And that's why I had the tape to be played. My mama said my sons are to carry on the legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's her voice.
Right.
And so it has not been done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm here to enforce what my mother said,
mm-hmm.
and to make sure that it's done. And we're not going to stop until my mother's wishes are fulfilled.
Exactly. And that's exactly what's supposed to take place.
Right. So, we know at some point in time that people are going to have to, come back to repent, reconcile, settle it in court, out of court. But you're gonna they'll have to pay for the mistreatment, for the pain and suffering that our family has suffered for trying to just keep what is ours for the family.
Everything, it seems like we put our hands to it. Seems like the European wants to take it for himself.
Yeah, so.
And claim it all and act as if we've done nothing worthwhile on the planet. I just don't understand sometimes how we go through all these changes. Then you have people like your sister who wants to side with the European, and you see that, I don't even want to say the words that I really want to say. I'm just going to chill and not say the words. I'm going to be a little different.
Well, I hear you, and I have to kind of hold my tongue too, because I know, in some families and when atrocities or things happen within a family, I'm just thankful that I'm trying to live on some principles, and I'm trying to let the truth cut through, in a spiritual way.
Exactly. And that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah,
that's what I'm feeling from you. So I'm kind of vibing off that. That's why I'm holding myself. But I'm usually a little bit more.
I understand. I could. I don't want to. Just things will work itself out. This is one of the ways that I can. If I leave tomorrow, I've made my statement of what needs to be done and what has happened. And that's why we appreciate it that this is being recorded, and that the truth is being told, and that as legacies begin to develop, from this point and now on, that you have to make sure that that is done right. And if there's one person that doesn't right, how do you solve it? You have to solve it. You have to pursue it until the solution comes. And the solution is here, because it's without a shadow of a doubt what needs to be done. I am, and my brother, I'm really the only one that can really identify most of the stuff that's inside of the Withers legacy, because I live with him. I developed. He gave me the roles to develop these photos. I developed them. Or some of them I took with my own camera. As you see, So he gave them to me. I developed them. We were using black and white. So when the time come to prove, so you say you took that picture. What kind of chemical did you use? What kind of paper did you use? So they won't be able to prove. So because I was there, and I, if any black and white photographer would know that you develop pictures, you develop and you process and you rinse them off and you hang them on the line, let them dry. When they dry, you take them to print them out. So, and then you have to cut them up and put them in envelopes and save them, and you file them and who's on there. And so we got repetitions of this. If I did it, or my mama did it, or if each one of us as sons, we did it of our own photos, and we put them in the file with daddy stuff, and knowing and believing that everybody would work together. Uh, but for some reason, and we know it's either monetary greed or just playing on mental illness that's preventing, that has put, my sister into a situation where she just has not adhered to, the family structure. It's written what mother wanted to do. It's enforced what mother wanted to do. But my sister has been persuasive because she's been able to receive the money. So when the money comes, it comes to her. It comes to her, and so she keeps it, and she uses the money to fight us. Sad to say.
So with her name being down as a trustee, basically everything has to go through her. They have accepted
Well,
her
it don't
name
have
as
to
a
go
trustee.
through her, but they thinking that it has to go through her.
Do they really think that, or is something that they're just doing that?
Well, I think it's more that they have, just like you said, uses the female, and then they realize she's the weakest link. But they're really playing her, at some point that, that she has to realize that she's being played. And I've had a meeting with my sister about a month or two ago. I've talked with her more in the last 2-3 months, and I've probably talked in the last 2-3 years, still trying to reconcile. So look, we got to come together and get this thing done, or they're gonna keep on. They're gonna keep on dividing. It's based on what's been done, divide and conquer. And she said, okay, well, let's do something. But to this point, I've still been waiting on the call. I've called her twice and hadn't got a call back. We're supposed to be pursuing it. It's
How
still,
long this been?
it's been at least 3 weeks since I've called her twice, and twice. I hadn't heard from her in at least 3 weeks.
She's in Memphis.
She's in Memphis. So she just moved back to me. So, these are just some of the issues that we deal with, which is some of the blocks. And we feel that that's one of the apprehensive things that is preventing the legacy from moving forward.
And what is her name?
Rosalind DeVal Withers.
Rosalind DeVal Withers.
DeVal Withers, yeah. So,
Rosalind Withers, would you please give your brother a call and talk to your brother? I know you ain't never seen me before, but anyway, the reality is that the honoring of your mother and father's wishes, I think, would be beneficial for anything. She has any children?
yes, she has children.
See, good. So you set up good seeds now, today, for your seeds when you gone. But if you do bad now, you may cause your own seeds to suffer later. So that's something that I think we have to really pay attention to. Don't do nothing now to cause your children to suffer when you're not here, because right now your parents are not here, and some of your brothers are suffering, your relatives are suffering now because things are not being done properly. So don't please trust me when I tell you, if you set things up properly now, your seeds later on will be able to benefit. Don't have your children sitting fighting and arguing over a legacy that should be taken care of right now. That's just my words too. Rosalind Withers.
Rosalind Withers.
Yeah. Well, hopefully she will soften her heart a little bit and adhere to, as well as other people too out there, because we as a people have got to learn that, again, nobody cares about us but us. Period. I mean, that's just what it is. We got drones flying in the sky. We have martial law not too long ago in Florida. Yeah, phone tapping, cell phones are nothing but tracking devices. And I mean, come on, man. We living in a land of no privacy at all. And people seem like they don't even want us to drink water no more. We buying water now.
Too much fluoride in the water. Fluoride in the water is killing us.
Yeah, exactly.
And lead is killing us, especially in Memphis. We got a big fight going on in that. There's a big fight going on in the electronic vote machines in Memphis and around the country. I have stepped back because until the electronic vote machines are taken away, we filed 2 lawsuits in the last 8, 10 years. And we worked with Joe Brown in the last lawsuit. It's still pending in court. But we filed 2 federal lawsuits that prove that the voting machines are being stole through cell phones and through computers that are basically hooked up to the voting machines.
Wow. You talking about Judge Joe Brown,
Yeah,
the one who knew what went on, who really killed Dr. King.
Yeah, well,
Judge,
he ran for office,
Uh-huh.
and they stole his votes, and so he filed a lawsuit against the people. So he's in fighting against the system to uncover why they are stealing the votes. So we're working together to try to uncover why the theft of electronic vote machines. So what you have going on now across the country, and you can go to blackboxvoting.org, and read more about it. But that's been one of my fights in the community, and I've been before the Shelby County government. I've been before the city and the state and the federal court to let them know that I know, and they know I know because they stole my votes. And that's why I'm stepping all the way back from politics until they remove those machines and come back to the paper ballot, because that's probably the most safest way for us to vote paper ballot now, because they're selecting candidates, they're not electing it. So that's what's going on.
That's what they always been doing. Even when they say they're gonna make the rules fair, they change them when it comes down to brown-skinned people. Red bones, paper sack brown, whatever color we come in, it don't really make a difference, because the playing field is never gonna be the same as long as these Europeans is controlling things, as far as I can see.
Right. So I've been invited. I've just been joining the membership of NAAIP, which is National Association for the Advancement of Indigenous People. And I've been invited to be part of the press corps. They're going before the United Nations to petition the United Nations of Aboriginal people, and to begin to reclaim the land and set up trusts to reclaim the land that has been taken.
We're going to the UN, right?
United Nations.
That's the next fight?
All right, next fight. So April 14th, they're scheduled. You can look it up. There'll probably be a little bit more discussion about it. But yeah, the Moors, the indigenous people, the Aboriginal people, the claims are done, and through the different, Shawnee, whether you're Cherokee, whether you're Seminole, and that's what is going on. All of our birthright has been we've been confused. And it's the same thing. They stole the history of what we put together, and that's what's been doing. That's what they're trying to do now. Still more history, so we'll never know what we will accomplish.
Exactly.
They stole the history of the birthright of this country,
right?
And we don't understand that we were original, and that actually anything that once we claim who we are as birthright, then we have the right to claim anything that our family name is on.
Exactly.
And
that's exactly what it's about.
That's what we're moving forward.
And that's exactly what it's about. Well, I thank you again. Hopefully we got enough done, and if not, of course we'll come back and do it again. I got to get down there though.